You go into a country where you see this woman walking with her daughter, getting water in an unpaved road, and you think, just as a photographer, just as somebody who wants to see it, it's a beautiful picture. But this woman uses hundreds of hours getting water. What can we do? We drill a well. What we do, what the Women's Campaign International does, is we go in and we listen, and we're Sisyphusian, we're pushing the rock up the hill. And it's working, but it's hard.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Tech, live from Kitzbühel, Austria, from the 2025 World Venture Forum. Today with me is Marjorie Margolies, former member of US Congress and president of Women's Campaign International. Hello, Marjorie.
Well, hello. What fun to be here.
It's great to have you in the beautiful Alps.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. It really is. I was here last year and was so thrilled to come back.
You're a veteran of the World Venture Forum. Last year when you came here, you explained us short and crisp what you do and what kind of global impact you have with Women's Campaign International. Would you mind sharing the story just in a nutshell for our audience?
Short and crisp is a real challenge all the time. WCI, I was the head of our delegation for the Beijing conference before most of you were born, in the mid-90s, 1995. And when we got back, Hillary was in the White House, and she said, we've got to get more women to the table. So I started an organization called Women's Campaign International. I was at the time, I'm actually still there, at Annenberg at the University of Pennsylvania, and they gave us our first grant. And what we have tried to do, although it was very unclear, we tried to get more women to the table. How we do that? We've been in 50 different countries. We are often asked by countries. It used to be through the State Department. That's just not true anymore. But they would say, we really need to get more women to the table. We are interested in training women in politics. I'll give you a real quick story, and it kind of shows how WCI is random, although I hate to use the word. We went to Malawi. We were asked to come in to work with women who were running for office from all different parties. We doubled the number of women in parliament, and one of our women, Callista Chimumbu wa Mutharika, was invited onto the president's cabinet, and then she married him. So we had a first lady, and we went to Rockefeller. They gave us a grant, and we started a First Ladies Initiative in Africa from something that we did directly. But that's what we try to do. It's very, very frustrating sometimes. In 2006, we went into Afghanistan, and our trainings are kind of getting about communications, healthcare, financial literacy. We went into Afghanistan, and the women who trained, we bring trainers. But the women who trained then were doctors, lawyers, professors. We tried to partner with universities, and they were amazing, and they really loved us. But when the Taliban took over, all our women went in hiding, and they still are, and they're starving. So we've set up. I wish it were more successful. We've set up kind of a food bank for them. And I'll show you afterwards. They come in burqa and covered to get their food, but they didn't want to do it without paying us back. So they send us wonderful things, jewelry and wraps, and our women are so amazing. And what we try to do, they know how important it is. The big problem there is that their kids, especially their girls, are not being educated. Have I said enough? You can ask me any question you want to.
I'm just trying to be polite and let you finish. But I've learned last year that it's not only about empowering women in politics, and it's not about only countries like Malawi or Afghanistan, etc. Also in developed developed countries,
Absolutely.
we find challenges when it comes to diversity and female empowerment. And it was stunning to me to see you and dear Mimi
Mimi,
Ishio
yes.
from Japan on the panel last year.
We were
And
together on the panel. It was so much fun. Yeah.
and she explained, right, and how challenging it is to get women more into leadership positions in Japan. And I've heard you actually stayed in contact and you started an initiative in Japan.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mimi and I, we had such a good time here. But we said we should be doing trainings in places like Japan, and we did. But I guess it was maybe...
Is there really a need in Japan? Japan is such a developed country.
There really is. You'd be surprised how much women step back because of tradition and training, although some of them are really just strong, wonderful heads of heads of operations of industry and everything like that. But the sharing was very interesting. The frustration was very interesting. WCI tries not to be arrogant. We can't go in and say, this is what we learned, this is what we've done, this is how successful we haven't been. So it's a matter of presenting what we would like to present. That is how you make your point across, how you make it across, how you listen to, if, for instance, they're very interested, many of them, especially now that they are wanting to be heads of industry or they wanted to be heads of organizations, and they're interviewed, how you listen to the question. Or if you're asked a question, try me. If you're asked a question that you don't want to answer, how you successfully not answer it and sound like you're answering it, that's a little bitchy, but that's okay.
It's okay because you didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
There is a need in Japan, you said, right? What is the initiative that you started together?
Well, we did these trainings and we talked about how you get to the table, how you were there not afraid, how you feel when you get home and you're asked a question. Or here we talk about early, get to the kitchen table, make sure that your boys and your girls know where you're going. That's what we talked about. How in centuries the Japanese really do respect the men in the family and the men. But yet they feel much more comfortable. The women feel much more comfortable sharing, making sure that their point is understood. But it's a challenge, and you have to kind of go over and over. The real key is getting those women together in the same room. We had a lot of them.
And have them share their experiences.
Yes.
But how do you motivate them to get out of the comfort zone, to speak up and to make their way in society, and how to change society? Because if that's culturally, right, so set in stone, they need to make a big change.
Well, also they have to understand what's happening. In many cases, when we talked about it, there was this, that happens to me all the time. We've got to deal with that. It's being upfront. It's being also not being combative, but understanding that we share in this. We have a huge amount in common, and yet we have lots of areas that we do not have in common that we can share. We think work. Sometimes it doesn't. It's making things very sane center, moderate middle, diplomatic. That's what a lot of it is about. And also then looking towards, let's move from Japan. But I mean, when we're in countries where we always try to include men, but especially if we're in countries where there's a chief that we have to deal with. But it's listening. I mean, you go into a country where you see this woman walking with her daughter, getting water in an unpaved road, and you think, just as a photographer, just as somebody who wants to see it, it's a beautiful picture. But this woman uses hundreds of hours getting water. What can we do? We drill a well. What we do, what the Women's Campaign International does, is we go in and we listen and we figure out these random marriages that But it's very frustrating. It's extremely frustrating now because our country, the U.S., is not interested in the kinds of things that we've done forever. They're just not interested. So we're Sisyphusian. We're pushing the rock up the hill. And it's working, but it's hard.
But this like being appreciated or not appreciated, right, from time to time changes a little bit with the swing in politics.
You think?
You don't?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely, for sure. Yeah, it does.
But isn't that a part of, or an important part
Yes.
of international policy of the United States to make a difference?
Except now it's become really hard. It really, I mean, for instance, after the Fourth World Conference, Hillary set up an office at the State Department, a global women's office, and that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, there is not the kind of interest that we've had in the last 25 years.
So the Doge department killed the budget for that, or
all I know is that we used to call and say, "Okay, we're going to Sri Lanka. Can you give us some information about it?" And they were able to do that. They've boxed up. They're no longer there. It doesn't exist anymore.
So it's not only that the funding dried out, they also stopped informing and helping you with intelligence.
Well, we just have to find it in a different way. But it used to be very linear, very direct. We knew who to call. We knew the people who had the information. They also knew the information. They would call so-and-so at the State Department. And it was pretty direct and verging on fun. But that doesn't exist anymore. And even my friends at the State Department, because so many of them were political appointees, they're just gone. It just makes me sad. More than anything, I feel sad about the tone. I think the tone that has been said is sometimes nasty, and we are not nasty.
I think on a global scale, we have a problem with the tone, the taxonomy that is used in, and we feel that in the media. But let's say, I mean, the times are the times we live in, right? And the policy of today, make America great again. Let's have that stand in the room. I know with COVID, you started a program, the GALS program,
Right.
where you were focusing on
You have a
empowering
good
young
memory,
ladies
sir.
in the US. And why? I mean, of course, it makes sense, right? There
Well,
is
we couldn't
also
travel.
empowerment needs at home. What did you do with this GALS program? What is this
Well-
about? Is this still active?
Yes. Well, kind of. I mean, we're once again looking for funding. I'm at the University of Pennsylvania. I've been at the University of Pennsylvania for a long time. I work with David Eisenhower, who was Ike's grandson. And
The gentleman where Camp David is named after.
Yes.
I learned from you.
Yes. Ike really liked David a lot. And the name of Camp David was Shangri-La. And he just named it after his grandson, Camp David. And he said, I work with him. But trying to figure out how we can change the tone. What was the question? I'm sorry. I went
The
off on
GALS
that.
program.
Oh,
Still
thank you so
active,
much. Yeah,
and
yeah.
what does it do? And why is the need in America? I mean, you're
Well,
so
at
far
Penn,
ahead.
which
right?
that's how I got to Penn. They said, "Well, listen, you're doing all of this empowerment stuff all over the world. Why don't you do something here?" And we couldn't travel because of COVID, so we started our GALS program, and it's been very successful. It mainly works with teenage girls, and we try to empower them. We try to
So you partner with high schools.
Correct. And also they take projects. One of the projects was working with and feeding the homeless. And we don't understand that their needs are sometimes just cleanliness, bodily functions, things where they can go if they're in trouble, there are many places that these unhoused, we call them, but they just don't know where things are. And our girls were able to take that, tons of other projects, but our the gals, it's Girls Advocacy Leadership Series. And they're able to work with all different kinds of wonderful projects.
And this is now fully privately funded through WCI,
W-
through
well,
your
we have to.
nonprofit organization
Yes,
in the end.
it's funded through us, but it's also funded through the Philadelphia school system and everything like that. But it's the funding has never been more challenging. We will survive, but it's harder.
Is this a program you want to replicate from Philadelphia to other cities in
We
the US
have
or also
all over the
internationally?
world, all over the world.
Oh, wow.
As a matter of fact, when COVID happened, one of the things in Kenya was that because the girls were not going to school, they were getting pregnant as teenagers. So we started a program because we were doing an exchange with the Mandela Fellowships. We would accept one and we would send folks. This was quite a while ago, and but they said literally we were packed to send our group over, and we couldn't do it because of COVID. And they said, we're having this problem. So we did a whole Zoom thing. We had 100 girls. Not one became pregnant. We talked. You know what they didn't know? They didn't know what consent was. So what in these particular communities, they did not know how. They didn't know what their rights were. They didn't know how to say no. So we did a whole series. As a matter of fact, one of the things that was terrific was that when we would do our thing, the next day, and we couldn't do it, the next day the mothers from villages would come and they would say, can you please take my daughter in? Because one girl would go home and talk about what we were doing. And we couldn't grow because we were so restricted. And of course the program is over now, but we were very successful. And that's the kind of thing that falls on our lap. And it's hard, but it's so rewarding. I mean, it's just so much fun.
If somebody wants to support you, how can they support you? Should they write you with ideas for projects? Should they donate? Is that even possible for private people? How would they approach that?
Sure. Women's Campaign International is our organization, and we would love you a lot. Yes, it's private donations. It's a 501c3, so it's all tax deductible. And what we do, and we've been doing it for more than 25 years. It's just amazing what a small organization like ours can do, and how much we hear all the time. I was doing a Congress to campus thing, and a young woman came over to me and said, many, many, many years ago, just for a book I wrote about, I'll give them I adopted 2 kids before I got married. I married somebody with 4 kids. So we had 4 girls, and we got married. We had 2 boys. Then we took in a refugee family for many, many, many years. But what she said was, my grandmother read your book, and because of that book, she adopted me. But it was so much fun to know what the ripple effect of what one does after all these years. And she was at a college where I was speaking, but that's what WCI does. I mean, there's a ripple effect. People come up to us all the time and say, you don't remember this, but many years ago we worked together in wherever, and now we've started a 501c3, and we're doing it, but it's just challenging.
It must be a huge effort to hold up all these different activities internationally. Are you continuously working on those programs, like continuing Afghanistan, Kenya,
We're trying.
Japan,
Exactly,
etc.?
we're trying.
You have all of that going on within your organization.
Well, the real problem is there are these small grants, and when the money runs out, the money runs out. We try to keep in touch with them. We love keeping in touch with them. We love when they kind of come by, but it's very challenging. And as I said, when we first started, the money has just been cut. I can give you where we used to get our funding, through State Department and everything like that. That's not happening anymore. So we have to get the money through private donors. who have stepped up to the plate, but nowhere near as much as we would. You hear all these huge numbers from all these people who are just doing wonderful stuff. And if we could have just a tiny piece of those successful ventures, we would be fine, and the women would be fine too. It's amazing what happens when we catch up.
Basically, what you're saying is a few hundred, a few $1,000s could have one moment, one impact in
Enormous
life
effect
of a person anywhere in the world, right? And could have a return of invest that not only touches your heart, but that also makes a difference in the respective society.
Exactly.
So on a global peace a view, right? For a peaceful society across borders in a borderless thinking.
Well, but that's when that young woman came to me and said, my grandmother adopted, because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, isn't this incredible? And one doesn't know, and one doesn't need to know it, except it really does make you feel good. It really make you feel good.
Amazing. I can see this is really a topic. It touches your heart. It touches mine. I hope you guys have been touched as well. Please subscribe to our channel, tune in for the next episode, and make sure you take a look on the website of Marjorie's Women's Campaign International. We have the address in the caption. A few bucks could make a huge difference in this world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That would be great. Thank you. And thanks for suggesting it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you. Bye-bye.